watching.
Subscribe. Brought to you by Cineworld Cinemas, the best place to watch a movie.
Hello, you're watching ScreenStalker. I'm Fakidor Laurie Blake. This is housemate Simon Longdon, and we're about to review Jumanji: The Next Level in association with Cineworld Cinemas. And you too can get your tickets to see Jumanji: The Next Level at Cineworld Cinemas by clicking the link in the description down below. As long as it's there. It's definitely there. I put it there myself, so please click it. So, Jumanji: The Next Level, the follow-on to Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, the follow-on to Jumanji. The original Jumanji. But this is the
second movie that Dwayne Johnson's been in called Welcome to the Jungle.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, weirdly. that's he's been looking for a niche.
It's jungle movies.
And that's his niche.
He's been in quite a few now.
So it's a sequel to the obvious reimagining of Jumanji as like a sort of Freaky Friday video game based whatever, like adventure romp, essentially, in which people are inhabiting the wrong bodies as avatars in a video game and stuff. And I think this takes that kind of formula, like story-wise, very basic plot of there's another mission,
Yeah.
but then plays with attempts to play with the formula slightly more of like people being that sort of like mismatched with who they think they are and who they are played by in the film or in Jumanji, what kind of character they end up being. And that kind of comes into play here because you've got the original cast returning of Spencer, Martha, Fridge, and Bethany. However, Spencer, for some unknown reason, ends up back in the game himself, willfully.
Yeah, he just sort of does that.
Yeah. And then his friends go in after him. However, his granddad, played by Danny DeVito, a character called Eddie, and Danny Glover's Milo end up dragged in too, which leads to lots of accents, lots of people doing slightly different versions of the same characters that they were before, lots of body swapping, but ultimately another Jumanji film.
Yeah. I think adding in the sort of element of the old guys, Eddie and Milo, I actually found that narrative thread of the film, I actually did find that engaging, and I was in on that. I thought it was well played. I thought Kevin Hart, when he is playing, he mainly plays the old guy, plays Milo. I thought he was really good. I thought it was really funny. That sort of playing off between The Rock does a sort of, I think he's attempting a sort of New York accent to make him like Danny DeVito, and it sort of it works and it doesn't work in various places. But like they obviously have great on-screen chemistry anyway, just as actors. So there's definitely enough going on here that is entertaining. I just think maybe the beginning it doesn't give a particularly great reason for us to be back in this world, but I also don't really think dwelling on the reality of it is what it's trying to do anyway. It sort of doesn't really matter.
You kind of want to dispense with the outside of Jumanji story as quickly as possible. Like there's definitely a degree to which, I don't really want to spoil the ending, but there's a degree to which you're going to need the real world in some scenarios for like the kind of arc of the franchise, seemingly. But you just kind of want to go like hop, skip, and we're in Jumanji. That's you want to sort of set up like what's important to do is first film did it quite well, was like set up who these people are, why they're different to each other, why they don't get on, why there's going to be drama in the team when they get there, and then dump them in there so that when Jack Black's doing his characterization of somebody, you can see those bits of that person in there, and you can go, oh, okay, so she's in the wrong body. Here, I don't think it was quite as comfortable as the first film when Jack Black is doing the characterization, because Fridge ends up as Jack Black's
avatar.
Yeah, his avatar in the film. So like he's then doing a slightly awkward impression of...
It's not. It's a bit uncomfortable. I mean, there's a few things in it that are slightly uncomfortable on that. It's not that it's sort of doing anything. It feels a little stuck out of time. I mean, you've got Jack Black doing quite an uncomfortable impression of a young black man from America.
Yeah.
That guy is also an athlete called the Fridge.
Yeah, who
which
doesn't
is-
speak like that.
No, who doesn't speak like that, and also is clearly a reference to the Refrigerator, who was a famous Black American football player.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think they wouldn't have done that with a white character, given them a funky nickname. So I think there's some uncomfortable stuff here that is just sort of ends up being, it's not particularly meaningful to the whole plot, but it is something that is a criticism I have of this movie, which is that it's just, those elements are just uncomfortable and sort of pointless. So I don't know how that will play out elsewhere, but
I think because also it's like kind of getting caught up in the idea like that the big selling point of the Jumanji film wasn't that they go to a jungle, wasn't that they are in a video game. It was that people were in the wrong bodies. And that's really what this film has latched onto as the sort of like, we need to take things up to the next level for number 2. So we've done, there are old guys in bodies now. Someone's a horse. This thing happens.
Yeah.
Like, there's a new character. It's kind of, and then everyone starts swapping later in the film. Like, you know, people start actually swapping over and ending up in the wrong place and going into different bodies. So like, they really want to play that kind of Freaky Friday element up in this film. And like, I think my one criticism of the plot would be, I would love to see it have been more about the video game aspect, because I think the first one touched on it and played with it quite well and gave like, you know, the idea of the areas of Jumanji being levels, and each level has a slightly different thing that you have to do in it. So like, you go to a bazaar, and in the bazaar there's a puzzle to do. But here, this is a chase, this is a quest, this is a riddle, this is a that. And that kind of gamifying of it. Yeah. Here it feels very much like their idea of what the game was to be like, it's 1,000 ostriches, it's 1,000 mandrills. It's like, there's just lots of chase sequences with lots of animals. And that's pretty much all the gamifying of it there is. I mean, it's very fun to watch those scenes play out.
yeah.
And they are like, and it's that same sort of formula of like, it's playing off the idea that these are people who are more than capable of being in these scenarios and handling themselves, but the people driving the body are just going like, how am I doing any of this?
Yeah, it was, again, it's got some good action sequences. It's got like one main thread, which is actually genuinely emotive and interesting.
I really like. I really like that story.
Yeah,
between
it's a shame. It's a shame. I would say it's a shame that the main narrative thread, which is between Spencer and Martha, that didn't grab me particularly. Only because Spencer's motivations for launching them all into this game again weren't great.
Yeah,
and that's fine. You know, that isn't also necessarily the reason why they want you to come and see this film. It's supposed to be films with big casts like this are also. They also do attempt to tell different stories of different people and hope that that overall the whole family will enjoy this thing. So the story the narrative that plays out between Milo and Eddie, which is Danny DeVito's character, is, it is two men struggling to come to terms with, masculinity and mortality and friendship and what that means in old age.
It's like our story.
Yeah. And it's good and it's well acted and it's interesting, and I was genuinely emotionally invested in that story. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, that is a big part of the movie. I think that that is sort of ends up becoming the main motivator of the whole movie. And I think that's a really great narrative and a great thing they've added in there. And I just think the sort of the relationship playing off between Martha and Spencer just doesn't quite hit it for me.
Yeah. But
I also don't think that's actually the most important or most around. There's also
isn't it? Because that story between Eddie and Milo that plays out, like, as we get towards the resolution of that, they managed to make a heartfelt moment happen when Awkwafina is playing Eddie and doing a sort of like hunched over Danny DeVito impression, which she's
great.
She's very good.
She's really good at this, actually.
And a horse is playing Milo.
Yeah,
and they managed to make that moment and these moments between those two, when all the body swapping happened, like feel poignant and feel like, I was sitting there just like, oh, that's actually really nice.
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was really sweet. And rounded the narrative off well. It's just a good action romp that sort of falls down in the places that films like this actually have stopped falling down on these hurdles in the last sort of 5 or so years. And so some bits of this feel almost old-fashioned.
Yeah.
They feel very mid-2000s, you know.
It's got a little too many pieces in play. I think it's like it's not quite as clean an idea as you would imagine it would be, because it's like it's Jumanji. So there is the stakes of like Jumanji being like it's a game, but if you die in the game, you die in real life. It's a video game, so there has to be lives in the video game. So you've already taken away some of the consequence of the idea that dying in the game is dying in real life, because you can die 3 times. You can die twice before you ever die properly. Like, you know what I mean? You've already taken away some stakes there. And then you've got body swapping, and then you've got a real world. So there's like 4 different elements to this to keep in play at all times.
It's more complicated than you think.
So you have to pick one of those bits to make the most important. And they've kind of decided that it's like real world stories played out through other characters is the main arc of this, and I think all that other stuff kind of falls by the wayside for a lot of this film specifically. I never really felt the stakes of because being in Jumanji.
Because the stakes are supposed to be actual death.
Yeah.
Real world death. If you die 3 times in the game, if you lose your lives in the game, you will not get out of the game. That's how that works. Mm-hmm. So those are the highest stakes possible. And then I think the film sort of pivots then to say that the stakes really are whether Spencer and Martha will get back together or not. And it's a bit like, like you said, the stakes sort of change and move throughout the movie. And that kind of, like I said, it does take away a little bit of that. And what ends up happening is I then think where the real stakes are between Eddie and Milo.
Yeah.
And because the way that wraps up at the end, it's you sort of forget the other stuff that's been happening, which... It's not great that you forget that you're sort of not that bothered by that stuff, but I think it kind of it almost justifies it at the end, because the end becomes about that choice of whether to stay in the game or not, and so like you sort of bring those consequences back at the end. But I think if they had made that much more of a leading thread throughout, that this really did mean death, then I think it would have felt more.
However, I guess I think the point is that it's a very family friendly film, and you don't want to play up the idea of people dying too much in that.
The screening we were in had had like a real mixed crowd of like, you know, young kids, family. Like it was. I think we were kind of in quite a good sort of focus group of who that movie's for,
and people were really enjoying it.
People were really enjoying it. I generally speaking, I thought it kind of was a bit slow to get going, but generally speaking, I didn't get bored. You know, and I laughed at where the jokes were supposed to be.
I think it's a funny movie. I think there's a lot of really funny stuff in there. I think Kevin Hart specifically is fantastic, as you would imagine Kevin Hart would be. But I like the fact that I think the first film they positioned it very carefully to be like Fridge is sort of Kevin Hart. Like the guy in real life is sort of like a lower key Kevin Hart, and then when he gets to Jumanji and he's inhabiting Kevin Hart's body, he is just Kevin Hart with a backpack on. And that's the character. This time he's actually like doing a character on top of being Kevin Hart, and then turns back into Kevin Hart later in the film. So it's that kind of... I liked seeing him do something different. Yeah. Because I think Kevin Hart also does fall into the trap of being Kevin Hart in every film, as does The Rock. And less successfully here, The Rock tries to be Danny DeVito. Yeah. But he is still The Rock. And I think you always do have to take that into account, that he is still The Rock. And when he's a very
really charismatic, great screen presence, really funny. Yeah, just him trying
he's
to...
He's the male Beyonce. Yeah. You just like watching him.
Yeah, I just think I'm not surprised I'm not blown away by his accent work.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's not... The movie is not going to live and die on that.
No.
You know, it's just... You know, accents in this are a problem throughout. And that's just kind of
that is just kind of
that's just the thing.
Yeah, I think realistically, as a sort of holiday film, when you've got time to go to the cinema with your family, this is one that's definitely worth seeing. I think I would say probably Star Wars is going to be a bigger film to go and see, for certain. But once you've seen Star Wars, I'd definitely give Jumanji a whirl, because it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it is. It's funny. It is emotive in the right way. And you will not be. You're not going to come out of it thinking you wasted your time. You're going to go in there. You're going to go in there thinking it's another Jumanji film, and it is going to deliver you exactly one other Jumanji film. Yeah,
Which is fine by me.
Which is exactly what it was supposed to do. And if you do fancy seeing Jumanji, the next level, then you can get your tickets to see it at Cineworld Cinemas by clicking the link in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please click the videos that have appeared on the desk right now to watch more awesome ScreenStalker stuff. I've been Laurie Blake. This has been Simon Longden. And remember, we're watching.